Testing 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. Yeah, right. Okay.
Can you remember buying your first mattress, Lawrence?
Well, I didn't do very much of the purchasing in our family. I can't recall ever buying anything, actually.
Do you feel 85? It's so interesting to watch you work and talk.
Well, I have a duty. I have to give people hope that Warren has 7 more good years in him.
Salary of what?
$100,000 a year.
That's what you're paid?
Yeah.
The board of directors thinks that you're worth $100,000 a year?
Well, I don't ask them, actually. If I want to live a long time, I should keep eating like a 6-year-old, which I do.
Yeah.
And it works. Check this man's credit and see if he's good.
Remember when Warren got on this subject and they asked him what he wanted said at his funeral? He said, I want them to all be saying that's the oldest looking corpse I ever saw. and
That may be the smartest thing I ever said.
Teacher. He'd like that inscribed on his gravestone.
I'm not in a hurry to do it, but I...
Tell me, what does it say on that gravestone?
Well, I'd like it to say, here lies the oldest man that ever lived, actually. But Charlie says all he wants to know is where he'll die, so he'll never go there, you know, and so you... But life has been awfully good to me and Charlie, so we have no complaints.
what you don't want to be is like the man, and they held his funeral, and the minister said, now it's the time for somebody to say something nice about the deceased. And nobody came forward, and nobody came forward. He said, surely somebody can say something nice about the deceased, and nobody came forward. And finally one man came up and he said, well, he said, his brother was worse.
Yep. For those of you who are old-time basketball fans, I might mention that on Wilt Chamberlain's tomb, it was reputed that it was going to say, at last I sleep alone. We pay our board, our directors, $900 a year, and I really would like to pay them more, but Bill's so far ahead of me on that Forbes list already, I don't want to give him any ammunition.
I am a much better golfer than Tiger Woods. I have now shot my age 3 times, and that guy isn't even close.
I knew he'd work it into the conversation somehow.
I mean, he isn't even close.
I'd have to live to be 150 to shoot my age, and then I'd have to cheat. What's your dream now? He said,
My dream. Well,
let's skip the first one.
sometime when I'm especially wishful, I think, oh, to be 90 again.
That's one of the advantages of my job. We've got a candy company. We've got jewelry companies. I mean, I've become much more popular with women, you know, since I bought the candy company
and the jewelry company.
You ought to be happy where you are working, and I always worry about people who say, you know, I'm going to do this for 10 years. I really don't like it very well, and then I'll do 10 more years of this. And I mean, that's a little like saving up sex for your old age. I mean, not a very good idea. I've got a partner, Charlie Munger, says he admires humility enormously, but he wasn't quite given his fair share. I heard they are going to call off the Wall Street Christmas pageant because they couldn't find 3 wise men, you know, and there's been a real problem there. They couldn't find a virgin either, but that's another problem. There I am down at the bottom here.
There you are in this
I'm
corner.
over here, and that's Bob Russell and Rich Olson.
You kind of have like a little bit of a grin on your face.
I must have been thinking about investments at the time. I have turned down business deals that were otherwise decent deals because I didn't like the people that I would have to work with. I didn't see any sense pretending it. And to get involved with people that really cause your stomach to churn. I say it's a lot like marrying for money, that it's probably a bad idea under any circumstances, but it's absolutely crazy if you're already rich, right?
We look to you and follow your lead. But when you need advice and feedback about an idea or decision, I'd like to know, who do you go to?
Well, usually I look in the mirror, to be perfectly honest. it reminds me of that old story about the difference between a diplomat and a lady. I don't know whether you've ever heard that or not.
No.
But if a diplomat says yes, he means maybe. If he says maybe, he means no. And if he says no, he's no diplomat. And if a lady says no, she means maybe. And if she says maybe, she means yes. And if she says yes, she's no lady. So he probably got a maybe and didn't know whether it was coming from the diplomat, really, essentially. About halfway through the first quarter, Bill said, "What's that big N stand for on those guys of yours?" I said, "Bill," I said, "what the hell?" I said, "It's knowledge."
Take out his flip phone and show you, so he's not going to be one.
This is my new one.
It's going to take.
I just turned in the one Alexander Graham Bell gave me. But,
The 18th hole, I've been caddying for him, and we get to the 18th hole, and he says, "Warren," he says, "I hear you play this game." And I said, "I don't play the same game, Tiger." He says, "No, you play this game." And he says, "Anybody that plays golf, I have to play for money." And I said, "Tiger, that doesn't sound like the fairest thing I've ever heard." He said, "No, we're going to play for money." I said, "What kind of money?" He said, "Serious money." He said, $5. I said, "That is serious money." And after we made the bet, he dropped down on his knees, and he actually hit the ball on his knees.
Oh, no.
He still won the hole. He
Oh, no.
hit that ball about 260 on his knees.
No.
So I gave him $5, and I just handed him $5. And then I said, "Tiger, you're forgetting something." And he said, "What's that?" I said, "The caddy gets 10% of your winnings." So he gave me 50 cents back.
It takes the interests of parents, and frankly, it takes the interests of the well-to-do in the school system to keep a first-class school system. I've said that to some extent a good public school system is a lot like virginity. It can be preserved but not restored. In fact, I've got a letter. I've already sent out a letter that tells what should be done, and I've got another letter that's addressed, which will go out at the time, and it starts out, "Yesterday I died," and then it just tells what the plan for the company is, and it's all taken care of. It's all written. I put down at the bottom of it, I put "dictated but not read." We have a big advantage in that, as contrasted to virtually almost every other company, we now and in the future are willing, eager to buy parts of wonderful businesses or all of them. I mean, most managements most investors are limited to buying parts of businesses, and most managers psychologically are geared to owning all of something that they can run themselves. It's like, I think Woody Allen said some years ago, it's the advantage of being bisexual is that it doubles your chances of a date on Saturday night. And we can go either direction in that respect.